Hello, and thank you for joining us for They Said I Wouldn't Make a Good Scientist, so I Became a Mermaid. Our session will be about 50 minutes. My name is Katrina, and I work for Wild Rivers Conservancy as the Environmental Education Coordinator. I'll be in the background moderating the chat, helping with any technical difficulties. So if you have or if you click on the bottom of your screen, you'll see the chat icon. That's where we'll ask you to put any questions or comments, any technical issues that I can help you with. But as we're going along, make sure you're putting your questions in the chat so we can get to them at the end of the session. Just so you're aware, this session is being recorded. It will be made permanently available on the Wild Rivers Conservancy YouTube account. So with all of that housekeeping out of the way, I'd like to introduce our speaker and give the rest of the time to them. So please welcome Echo.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. Oh my goodness. Can we all see my slides okay? And my screen? Yes, we're all working. Okay, phenomenal. So before we start, I just want you to do something for me. Okay, so if you've ever felt like you're not good at something, can you raise your hand? Yeah, probably if you're a human being, you have your hand in the air. Okay, same. You can put them down. Now, silently in your head, I want you to answer this question for me. Was that thing you felt like you were not good at math, or maybe science, or maybe school in general? For me, it was. If you said yes, you are not alone. When I was your age, I felt like I was terrible at math and science. So, this talk is for all of my fellow artists, writers, drawers, actors, singers out there watching today. My name is Echo, and today I'm going to tell you all about the story of someone who was told they would not make a good scientist and ended up becoming one anyway, but maybe not in the way that anyone expected. Because even though I felt like I was really bad at math and science as a kid, today I'm actually a freshwater scientist and a professional mermaid. Yes, that is a thing. So I'm going to give you 10 seconds, and I want you to turn and tell to a friend, when you hear the word scientist, what do you picture? Okay, ready, go. 10 seconds. Okay, let's come on back. Now, did you turn and tell your friend that maybe you pictured a lab coat? Maybe someone holding a test tube? Maybe someone next to a whiteboard with a bunch of crazy equations on it? Okay, yeah, I would picture those things too. I want you to hold on to that idea because we're going to come back to it, okay? Okay, we're going to go somewhere with that. So, yes, when I was in school, your age, I did not think that I was a science kid. I struggled so much with math that I recently found a ruler from my third grade classroom where I had written in between every little marker, I hate math during math class instead of paying attention. Yeah. I just didn't understand things the way that they were taught. And even at one point in middle school, when I was telling my guidance counselor that I wanted to be an architect, they told me that maybe a career with that much math wasn't for me. And sadly, I believed her because when you hear something like that from someone you trust, especially after thinking about it yourself for so long, it starts to feel true. But there was just one problem. I loved the water. I cared so much about fish. I loved the St. Croix River in Hudson, Wisconsin, where I grew up, and I lived so close to Troy Beach that I could walk or bike there after school. And I did almost every single day when the water was warm enough, and I would pretend to be a mermaid. But I thought that becoming an environmental scientist meant being really good at math, getting everything right the first time, and thinking about theories and hypotheses and spreadsheets and test tubes. So I thought since I couldn't do any of that stuff, that I did not belong there. And maybe I shouldn't even try. But there were some things I was really good at. I was very creative. I loved storytelling, drawing, writing, reciting poetry. Raise your hand if you're also a creative person. Yeah, me too. This is a little embarrassing, but in a school play in first grade, I had a drum solo on my bongos, and it was one of my proudest moments ever. I practiced for weeks on my stage. That was just my mom's fireplace, and I rocked that solo on my bongos. And as I got older, I realized that I loved to teach. By the time I was 18, I was teaching sailing, swimming, kayaking, and anything that got me in or on the water. So I had these two big parts of who I was. I loved water and I loved being creative. I just didn't know how those two things could ever make me someone who would be able to work to protect the environment in my career. So I did the next best thing. I went to school to become a writer and a storyteller as a journalist. I worked for the Department of Natural Resources in Wisconsin, where I followed scientists through the woods and out on the water, and I filmed what they were doing. And then I wrote about it and made videos about it, and I told the world about their science and research through stories. And I loved it. I loved watching science happen right before me. I loved interviewing the scientists and asking them questions until I understood. I loved translating their complex research into ideas and emotional stories that everyone could understand. I loved being on the boats and in the research trucks. It was an adventure every single day. But there was one problem. I was so jealous. I didn't want to just tell the story. I wanted to be the one doing the science, driving the boat, catching the fish, measuring, testing, and collecting data. They were so cool, and I wanted to be them. But then something really unexpected happened. I discovered professional mermaids. Now, I know some of you are thinking, okay, we've officially lost the plot, but stay with me. Because when I found professional mermaids, something clicked. It was this perfect combination of storytelling, performance, and environmental advocacy. And I realized something that changed everything. What if, I thought, I didn't have to choose between being creative and caring about science and working on science? What if I could do both, right? So I started combining education, environmental science, and performance into what I now call edutainment, educational entertainment. I started teaching kids just like you about rivers, pollution, fish, ecosystems, all as a mermaid. I know it sounds really silly, but it actually makes a lot of sense. You see, mermaids, you have to remember, they're half fish and half human. So they're the perfect translators between both worlds. Before long, I was being booked by libraries, schools, festivals, aquariums, and more. But it wasn't easy. Imagine calling up someone right now and saying, "Hi, I'd love to come teach science as a mermaid." You can guess how that went. I got told no a lot. So here's another thinking moment. Think in your head about something you've wanted to try, but you didn't because you were really afraid of being told no. Think of something. Have it? Okay. Or maybe you tried once and it didn't go well, so you stopped. That feeling, I know it really, really well. Because in the beginning, I got told no like 8 times out of 10. But I kept going because I believed in what I was trying to do and I saw it working whenever I got to do it. And slowly, things started to change. I used to joke that I wasn't smart enough to become a scientist, so I became a mermaid instead. But the lessons I was teaching at schools and libraries and museums as a mermaid started to get more and more complex, and I needed a little bit more information in my brain. So I did something very scary. I went back to school for the subjects I used to struggle with the most. I earned my master's degree in freshwater sciences. I graduated in 2023 with a 4.0, but it was really, really hard. I stayed after class asking for help almost every single day. And here's the kicker. If you remember only one thing from my talk today, I want it to be this. I learned the most important sentence a scientist can say. It's this. I don't get it. Can you help me? That is not an embarrassing sentence. It is a powerful scientific statement. It is what all scientific discoveries started with. Because when you learn how to be curious and to quiet that voice in your head that says you're not smart enough, something amazing happens. You start to believe in yourself. I realized when I was back in school that knowing less than everyone else in the room was actually so exciting because it meant that you got to be surrounded by people you could learn from. Every single person became a scientific discovery. And today I am so proud to be the Associate Director of River Restoration at a nonprofit called American Rivers. And I am also still the CEO of my own business, which has been running for 10 years. I've done freshwater conservation work as a mermaid across the Midwest, across the country, and even internationally in Mexico and Ireland. As a mermaid scientist, I've gotten to work with organizations like the Environmental Protection Agency, the National Wildlife Federation, Milwaukee Riverkeeper, and more. I swim with some of my favorite animals and best friends on the planet, sturgeon, right? I get to teach kids about microplastics, the water cycle, the Great Lakes, and the St. Croix River. I even built a 750-gallon traveling mermaid tank to bring freshwater education free to communities across the Midwest. And here's the important part. None of that happened because I suddenly was perfect at math. I'm not. It happened because I found a different way in, a way into science that nobody told me was possible when I was in school at your age. Let's talk about why this matters. Less than 1% of Earth's water is fresh and accessible, but it supports billions of people and animals. Every single living thing needs fresh water. And freshwater ecosystems are disappearing faster than any other ecosystem on the planet. It's true. But here's the coolest part. Unlike the ocean, freshwater is local to you. It's right by you right now. That means you can do something about it. Now, think back to what you turned and told your friend earlier about what a scientist looks like. Maybe you said someone in a lab coat, someone with a test tube. Now, think in your head of what you see now. What does a scientist look like? Do they look like you? Do they look like me? Do they look different from how you pictured them before? Because here's the truth. There is not just one kind of scientist. You can be a scientist who is a storyteller, a scientist who is a teacher, a scientist who is an artist or a communicator or an advocate. Science needs people like you who can explain things, who can connect with others, and who can make people care from the heart. It needs every kind of brain out there. So if you've ever felt like you don't fit into math and science, I need you to hear this. That does not mean they are not for you. It might just mean you have not found out how math and science fits into your life yet, because I didn't either until I grew my scales. I actually remember in fourth grade, an adult just like me presented to our class about how cool STEM was, right? Science, technology, engineering, and math. And back then, it was a new concept. I remember thinking, he would never convince me. I will always dedicate my time to the arts and writing and never to yucky math. Well, ironically, now I am that adult speaking to your class about STEM. So if you are like how I was, that's completely okay. I want you to know that whenever I introduce myself to anyone, I say I'm an artist first. I'm an actor. I'm a writer. I'm a poet. I will never be able to do my job without those skills. But I'm also a scientist. Even though when I was younger, I really, really did not want to be one. So here's what I would like you to take with you. Number one, be curious. Number two, ask questions. Remember the sentence. I don't get it. Can you explain it to me? Number three, pay attention to the water in your neighborhood, where it comes from, where it goes, and what is affecting it. Number four, be a voice, just like a mermaid, by speaking up about what you see in rivers and lakes. And number five, do not give up on something just because it doesn't come easy at first. Nothing worthwhile is ever easy, and magic takes time, even mermaid magic. So I was told I would not make a very good scientist, so I became a mermaid. And through that, I found my way into science anyway. And I hope you find your place in the world just like I did. So remember, you can make a difference just by being you, no matter how you'd like to try to do that. My name is Echo. I work for my own company, Mermaid Echo Entertainment LLC, and American Rivers as a fish habitat coordinator and river restoration associate director. And it has been a pleasure getting to talk to you guys today. If you have any questions for me, I can answer them. I can't see the chat, but I think maybe.
I can see the chat.
Okay, great.
um, yeah, we don't have any questions right now, but if they're anything like me, they got goosebumps as you were talking.
Oh, that's so sweet. Well, I want to thank you so, so much for having me. It has been such a pleasure to get to come onto this event that you're hosting and to get to talk a little bit more about my work. Because if I had been a kid and we had an artist come on and say it was possible to take care of rivers, and be an artist, I think I would have probably cried of happiness. So thank you for this opportunity.
Okay. I know. I also yeah, I excelled at science in school, but I never thought I could be a scientist, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand. It's a hard thing to like, I don't know, see yourself as in the future.
It is. It feels like you have to go to school for so long. You have to get different pieces of equipment you don't know how to use, like lab coats and test tubes. It can feel really scary to try, but I never expected to be able to say I am a scientist. I didn't think those words would come out of my mouth, but here we are. It's possible. It's possible.
Well, we got some questions in. Are you ready to answer them?
Yes, I'm so ready.
How can you stay underwater so long as a mermaid?
Oh, a very common question, and one of my favorites. So, I am a PADI Mermaid Instructor Trainer. That stands for Professional Association of Diving Instructors. It's an international scuba and freediving organization that helps people learn how to be safe underwater doing scuba diving, which is the thing with the big tank and the regulator and the bubbles. And then there's non-bubble blowers like me who just learn how to hold our breath. So I teach mermaids actually all over the world how to stay under very, very long as a mermaid. And what you have to do to learn how to do that is take certification courses so you can learn how to be really, really safe. So how can I stay underwater so long as a mermaid? I I kind of went to school for it. I trained a lot. I was the first PADI mermaid instructor and then instructor trainer in the Midwest. We helped to popularize the program nationwide so we could have certified and standardized safety standards across the nation for how to do it safely. And now it's more popular than it ever has been before, which is very exciting.
Yeah. I know I keep seeing ads for your classes.
Yeah, you should come. I'll make you a mermaid.
Oh, okay. What's your favorite fish to swim with as a mermaid?
Oh my gosh, best question ever. I know if Tyler Winter is watching, he might hope that I say a buffalo, but no, it's a sturgeon. This is Carl. He is my best friend, and I love him so much, and he lives at Discovery World. He was a rescued sturgeon because sturgeon, as I'm sure you've learned this
Mhm.
week and so far, have been a targeted species for their eggs and for other reasons, and so they were endangered. And because they were endangered, some fish get caught and have to be put into an aquarium because they can't be released back into the wild anymore. And that was Carl's story. So he's a rescue. He lives at Discovery World and he's really big and he's very friendly, just like a puppy. I think a lot of people think fish are maybe don't have a lot of personality or don't have thoughts, but that's not true. Carl knows who I am and knows who the divers are and acts just like your cat, really honestly. Comes up for pets and he bites at different parts of my costume, and he's really sweet and he loves cuddles and I love him so much. But you should never pet a fish or a sturgeon without the help of a grown-up, and always make sure that your hands are wet if you're at a touch pool, like what is at the Great Lakes Aquarium or Discovery World, because they have a slime coating and we want to make sure that we're protecting that. It's what keeps them healthy. So always make sure you're petting fish, sturgeon safely if you have permission.
Yeah, good caveat.
Yeah, always.
What do you like most about your job?
Oh my gosh, that is a great question. Honestly, I think it's doing stuff like this, getting to talk to kids and meet kids who maybe might not know or like freshwater science if it weren't for a sparkly princess mermaid. I used to play mermaids all the time as a kid, and I was like, oh, the mermaids are the protectors of the water. And I really only cared about that. I did not care about the science or the research that went into protecting the water. But I think anybody who cares about the water can be a mermaid. Mermaid literally translates to caretaker of the sea. Mer means sea, and maid is someone who cleans. So mermaid, a caretaker of the water or of the sea. So if you identify with that, then you are a mermaid, and too can go out and talk to your friends about how to take care of our waters and our sturgeon, and be a really powerful advocate for fresh water. So that's my favorite part. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes.
What was your favorite play that you performed in?
Oh my gosh, you guys just have the best questions. Let's see. I think I have two. We write and produce all of our own plays. So if you're out there and you're like, I love science, but I also want to be a theater kid, it's possible. That's me. I do that for a job. My favorite play has to be Sammy Sturgeon. Of course, it's about sturgeon. It
Mhm.
is a letter that Sammy Sturgeon, the character, wrote to Mermaid Echo about the mirroring is messing me up,
Yeah.
about coming home. So in Wisconsin, we have the first ever, I believe, in the nation, streamside rearing facility at River Edge Nature Center. And that was really important for the conservation of sturgeon because they use their barbels to find their way back upstream in the spring to spawn, to reproduce. And if they can't do that, then they become more and more endangered. So we told a story about Sammy Sturgeon, who was returning home for the first time in 100 years for her species in the Milwaukee River. And it was sort of this hopeful, wouldn't that be nice idea. But actually, this year, we did have one sturgeon who was tagged by the River Edge Nature Center Sturgeon Rearing Facility program, who returned all the way upstream past 3 dams, and his pit tag, which is like kind of this very similar to a microchip that you put in your dogs and cats, that
Mhm.
pinged a data center that told us that he had made it all the way back upstream. Now, this study has been going on for 20 years. And so to be able to see all of that science and hard work come into fruition in real time, the year after we had produced a play about that happening was magical. And now I believe I heard our Great Lakes Aquarium speaker say that they're replicating that study up on Lake Superior, which I did cry when she said that. So that's fantastic. And if you'd like to read more about saving our sturgeon, you can get this book. It's called Saving Our Sturgeon: Protecting Wisconsin's Ancient Fish. And if you'd like to see a little video with Ann Moser from Wisconsin Sea Grant talking about this book and how it happened, email me and I'll send you the recording. It's fantastic. It's for maybe middle readers. It's got a lot of great pictures and stories in it. So it'd be a really good book for a classroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just learned about that book this week, and so it's on my need to get somehow list.
Oh, I'll send you my copy. You can
Okay.
read it.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Well, we're out of questions, but feel free to keep sending them in. I don't mind, and I'm sure Echo doesn't mind either.
Not
But
at all.
I just wanted to say thank you for sharing your time and your story. Sometimes stories about ourselves are the hardest ones to share.
Yeah,
So
that bongos picture is pretty embarrassing. I wasn't sure if I was brave enough to put it in there. So
it's fair.
it was that really did happen. Anyway, thank you so, so much, Katrina. This has been such a treat, and I just love telling kids that anyone can be a scientist, even mermaids. So thank you for watching and tuning in. And go out, meet a sturgeon, and save the waters and the mermaids.
Awesome. Well, and thank you everyone for joining for our 2026 St. Croix U Summit. It's been an amazing week. I hope you learned a lot. I know I learned something new every day, a few times over. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you again, Echo, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your Earth week.
Bye, guys.